Good day, gamers. Today, enemies. Okay, so we're going to be creating an enemy and making it so that he can just do simple movement. So, uh, there's a few options here. Like I had been using Ducko, but I'm gonna looking at the enemies. Like I kind of love this. This is for the Sugarland assets. I'm a big fan of the. I don't know what this critter is. It's like a vending machine, dude. But I like the concept of a vending machine enemy. So anyways, it doesn't matter which enemy you do. Just there's under characters, and then I'm using this enemy particularly. Okay, so just as we had done with our friend Ducko, we're going to change, first of all, the pivot point so that when it comes to calculating like where things should be drawn, we're going to make that adjustment first. So let's go ahead. For me, I'm going to go here to enemy, and then where it says pivot, I'm going to do custom. And then the figures I have here for the X value, I'm going to set to zero point 0.5, and then the Y value, I'm going to set to 0. Okay. Then, yeah, save, of course. Then I'm going to go ahead and just bring this guy in. So I clicked in, there he is. Okay. As far as the sprite sort point, we're going to set here to that pivot. Okay. And then I believe, now we're going to start adding components to it. Okay. So we're going to go ahead here to our box collider 2D. We're going to set this to is trigger. And then I'm going to adjust the size of it just because, like, mm, I keep it like that just because. Yeah, no, I'm gonna make it so just like sort of like the box, like sort of like his main body. So for me, I'm gonna adjust this. There's really no right or wrong answer here, in terms of, I don't know. I'm just going ahead and I'm adjusting the size. Let me go it here. I'm just adjusting size. Like when you kind of hover over, you see how kind of, let me zoom in again, how I've kind of got like a sort of like sliders. If you click, you can kind of move and change that size. So I'm going to just change it so it's just a bit smaller. So it's like kind of like over his main body. There's no right or wrong answer here. Anyways, set it to is trigger. Even if you leave it as the default, that's not a big deal. And then we're going to go ahead and add a rigid body 2D. With rigid body 2D, of course, we want to make sure we turn off gravity. And then we're going to freeze that rotation so that if he does go into anything, it doesn't like kind of like have him like move. So the other thing I'm going to do, just so he doesn't initially kind of like bang into the player or anything else that we have a box collider on, I'm going to move him down. So I'm going to select my move tool, and I'm just going to move him down so that I can kind of get, and that's what it's snapping on. So now it's a bit freer. Okay, cool. I had the grid snapping on us, so that was sort of like why, I don't know if you saw earlier when I was adjusting that box collider, where I was kind of uh, moving a little strangely. Anyways, so I'm going to move him down there. So this point, we can go ahead and we're going to add a script to him. Let's do the script first. Okay. So let's go to our scripts folder, and we're going to make a new script called enemy controller, capital E, and then capital C for controller. Okay. All right. And then let's open this up. Let's attach it first, actually. Let's go back to Unity, and then let's attach it to the enemy. Okay. And then what we'll do is let's make him a prefab, because we're going to be going back and we're going to be adding a bunch of these. Okay, so let's go ahead and just click and drag to where it says prefabs. And now I should have, at this point, I should have, my health collectible, my damage zone, heal zone, the player, and now an enemy. Okay, so let's go ahead and code this. Now I will have this in Schoology, but just we're going to go over the sort of like ins and outs here. So I got to go ahead here. Uh, okay, so we're going to go ahead here and let's first of all declare some variables. Okay, so just as with our player, we're going to start off, we'll call this, let me just increase the size here, public, float, and then speed. Okay, this is going to be something that's going to govern how fast our enemy is going to be, at least initially, left to right and then up and down. Okay. The other thing we're going to be doing is just as what we did things with player movement. We're gonna be utilizing the sort of Unity physics system. Okay, so we're going to go ahead here and first of all declare a variable of the type ridge, of course, rig, uh, rig id body, uh, number two, capital D, and then of course we'll just say rigid body, all lowercase. So we're going to be using the rigid body 2D kind of component when it comes to governing, like, I don't know, does it vending machines movement? Okay. So on start, we're going to grab that component. So let's go here, rigid body 2D. Okay. We're going to say equals, and then we're going to say get component, G component, and then we'll do open bracket, rigid body, capital R, rigid body 2, and then capital D. Close bracket. Oh, that's so frustrating. No, I don't want that. It sometimes it doesn't help, your IDE, and then we do open close parenthesis semicolon. Okay, so here what this is doing, of course, we declared a variable up here of the type rigid body 2D. And then we went ahead and associated with, like, on start, when the game starts, we want to go ahead and associate it with a particular uh, component. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is, we're, instead of update, we're going to say here fixed update. And then on fixed update, this should actually be very familiar to you. We'll say vector2 position. So we're declaring a variable of the type vector2. Vector2, remember, is going to contain x and y coordinate information. So which way is it moving on the x-axis? Which way is it moving on the y-axis? Most of the time, a vector is going to be 3. If we're talking about, like in real life, we would describe something with 3 dimensions: x, y, and z. But in this case, it's a 2D game. So vector2 position equals, and then we're going to set it again, the rigid body 2D dot position. Okay, now that's going to be, so if we look here, that rigid body 2D, this is the same code from our player character. Okay, now this is going to be something where we're going to be changing just on the x-axis. So again, this should be familiar. Position dot x. So this is just going to be affecting the x-axis. Position dot x equals position. So this is like the current position. Position dot x plus speed multiplied by time dot delta time. This is again so that we can delta time. This is so that, like, depending on the type of computer that is running this game, we want to just basically look at, like, in terms of how much time it takes to render a frame. So this is sort of something where we're kind of accommodating different machines and different render speeds. Okay, time to delta time, and then we're going to go ahead. So we're calculating a new x position based upon that speed variable that we had worked with before, and how much time has elapsed between frames. And then we're going to go here, we're going to say rigid body 2D dot move position, capital M, capital P, and then we're going to pass it the argument of position. Okay, and then semicolon. Okay, so initially, well, what should we set that speed to? Well, anyways, let's make sure it works, there's no errors. So let's go back to Unity 6. Ah, yes, excellent. A typo. uh, let's see here. Get component. I always like to misspell things. COMPON. Save. Excellent. Love it. Love to see it, folks. Okay, cool. Let's check our enemy. Okay, so right now the speed is set to 0. I'm gonna set it to 1, and we'll just go ahead and just make sure that, like, uh, it moves. Let me just move here. Now it should be sort of like the same sort of thing we experienced before. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so obviously, this is just sort of proof of concept. See ya. Anyways, so proof of concept in terms of like if we can do horizontal movement, we're gonna add vertical movement, and then eventually we're gonna get it so that like they're on kind of like a patrol path. So, anyways, I wish you the best of luck. Also, just note like this script I do have just right. It's in Schoology. Okay. I wish you the best of luck. Great stuff, my dudes.